And we are the Non-Prophets. I'm Billy Graham, along with Denis Loubet and Jeff D. And special guest Jamie Boone. They're coming to you live from the, Free Thought Library in Austin, Texas on the 21st of February, 2018. But I'm not. I'm dead. This show is sponsored by the Atheist Community of Austin, a non-profit educational organization for the promotion of positive atheism and the separation of church and state. If you want to learn more about the ACA, you can call their voicemail at 512-220-6561 or visit their website at www.atheist-community.org. The Non-Prophets broadcast live every first and third Wednesday of each month from 7:30 to 9 Central Time. You can join the Non-Prophets chat room by following the directions at www.nonprofitsradio.com. So sit back and enjoy the show.
Really abusing that poor dead guy.
Yeah.
I am.
What did he ever do to deserve that?
Well, how much time do you have?
We've got an hour and a half is what we've got.
All right.
Hi, everyone. Jeff D here. That was Dennis being channeling
Billy Graham.
Billy Graham.
Yes, yeah.
And our guest co-host today, Jamie.
Hey,
Yay.
audience.
Jamie, welcome to the show. This is the first time you've sat in on the Non-Prophets.
Yeah. Although on the other show I do for the ACA, this is the chair that I sit in. So
Is it? And the name of your other show?
as Talk Heathen.
Talk Heathen.
Ah, okay.
And how do people get to listen to that when they want to?
Well, you can find it on YouTube. The channel is Talk Heathen. Or if you go on any of the regular social media for the Atheist Experience and related podcasts, you can find that. You can send us email at mail@talkheathen. You can follow me on Twitter at reason_evidence. I'm forgetting one of them. Wait, I don't know. I'll catch you
Logic.
later.
Reason, evidence, logic?
Oh, yeah, Reason, Evidence, Logic. I mean,
I don't
that's
know
not
how
the
I
Twitter
knew
handle, but
Cool. Well, welcome to the crew for this episode.
good to be here. If I'm a non-prophet, does that mean that I have the gift of non-prophecy and I
Yes.
post-dict what I had
Just
for breakfast
like
this
us.
morning? Or
I think everybody's got the gift of non-prophecy.
Post-prophecy.
But we named ourselves that, so we've got the claim to the title.
I was going to say, yeah, that's right. That's what the Christians use, but they interpolate the Bible so that it sounds special.
Yeah.
Sure. All right. Well, you're sitting in Russell's chair, so it falls to you to read us a news item.
All right. So,
Dun,
Already.
dun,
yeah.
dun.
So there's the news that Billy Graham died.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know as much about Billy Graham.
Is it poison or?
Well, I think, it was his time. Jesus had finally had enough of him. So he's like 99 years, too much.
Whoa.
Is it? Do you think it's that,
99.
or do you think that's an indication of like how little they wanted him showing up there in the heaven?
They're like,
He gets to live till 99.
9, yeah.
how much further
If
can
they
we
liked
put this
him.
off? Yeah.
Only the good die young, says that song. So
Ah.
he must have been horrible.
That's why. I kind of agree with you. Yeah, I mean, he was there at the start of like the 700 Club and all the other poisonous crap that affected,
Yep.
continues to affect
He's
us.
created what we've got now. Yep.
Yeah.
We
Helped set it up.
we've gotten through Falwell. Pat Robertson's still creeping around,
Yep.
but he's got to be going pretty soon, don't you? Maybe we could get him on the phone later and ask
Pat
him.
Robertson? Yeah.
Ask him what his schedule is.
Yeah.
When do you expect to be called? Oh, yes.
Yeah. Or you make sure your ringer is turned up so you can answer it quickly. But there's also a story out of Florida, that hotbed of not
Well done. I
wild.
just want to say that segue was awesome. that was smooth.
Yeah. Yep.
And I thought I would step in and just completely ruin the smoothness of it by pointing that out. So go ahead.
No, that's good. It's all in good No Jesus. All right. So recently, in response to a school shooting, now by, the Florida legislature has passed a law, and every school will be forced to prominently display the words, "In God We Trust," because apparently they don't know what the Constitution is, or they live in like a giant "only Jesus exists" bubble. Actually, that's probably it.
Well, it certainly dovetails with the thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers and legislation mandating thoughts and prayers.
Right.
So it's, according to the Associated Press, it's every Florida school and school administrative building will have to prominently display, quote, "In God We Trust," end quote, as a bill passed by the House on Wednesday, so today.
Yeah, that's the Florida House.
Yeah, the Florida House.
Just the Florida House?
It's passed by the Florida House, yeah. I don't think it's gone to the Senate.
Freaking
Because there's a chance. See, that's it's important for everybody not to freak out.
Yeah.
Too much.
Still.
I mean,
when it only gets that far.
We can rely on the Florida legislature to make the right decision about whether or not...
All right, point made. Point made. So you're right. I'm sure they will be sitting there going, yeah, the correct way to respond to the massacre of students in our schools is to set us up to lose an expensive lawsuit.
Right. Yeah, that's what the state of Florida needs right now, because everyone's happy after lawsuits that originate in Florida end up in the Supreme Court.
Also, throw up our hands and give up.
It won't make it to the Supreme Court.
No.
Throw up our hands and give up and say, we can't solve the problem.
Maybe
it has to be God.
Maybe
Jesus,
giving the Freedom from Religion Foundation a bunch of money will help us.
I was gonna say they'll get a letter from the from the FFRF, and then they'll talk to a lawyer, and then they'll change their mind suddenly.
Yeah.
It's like But
I guess they just think that people in Australia are inherently superior to Americans. They have better self-control, apparently.
Just nothing to do with less guns.
No, nothing to do with that, apparently.
Because the solution is more guns. At least that's what I've heard. But in the report, the bill's sponsor...
Well, our president certainly thinks the solution is more guns.
Yeah.
Did anybody else watch that utter travesty of a pretend sitting in front of the students listening to their concerns that happened this afternoon?
No.
Yeah, it was a travesty. It was a travesty, and at the end, Trump decided, the answer is we're going to arm our teachers.
That's good. It's always amazing to me that like anti-government gun nuts are constantly in favor of like militarized police in response to protests.
Yeah,
and
more guns.
Like armed employees of the government in rooms with their children. Somehow they don't connect that.
I just think we need to remind them that your children are now going to be taught about evolution by somebody who's packing.
Point.
See how they like that.
Yeah. But the sponsor of the bill, Representative Daniels, is her closing speech on the bill. She said that God is the light and our schools need light in them like never before. Because, kids have to learn to read as well.
It's hard to shoot in the dark. What? I don't understand.
I was going to say, well, they're taking a real shot in the dark that this is going to help. But
you would think maybe turning the lights off might have saved some lives, but
fingers crossed. She added that gun issues needed to be addressed, but, quote, the real thing that needs to be addressed are issues of the heart, end quote.
Yeah, no, sorry.
Unless we're
everybody
talking about,
else is. No, wait a minute. No, you know what? I'll agree with that. But guess who I think hasn't got any heart?
Yeah.
Jesus.
No. I'm talking about people that are opposed to taking any kind of steps to really do anything in response to the deaths of children. Those people are lacking a heart.
Other than pray and pretend to think, you mean? They're willing to do that.
I'm talking about real steps.
Yeah.
Constructive things. No, totally. They're totally willing to milk this opportunity for some votes.
Oh, sure.
Like the lady that wrote this bill, right?
Oh, yeah.
Totally milking it to get some votes out of her constituents, but
definitely. Well, that and I
not
give her the benefit
not
of
willing to actually do anything that might have an actual effect.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what she's more concerned about is very plain now.
Yeah.
Sure.
Who needs humans when you've got Jesus? So this took a real downer. Jared.
Sure. So shoot all the humans
Yeah.
in that case.
You're
Just-
sending them to heaven.
just Jesus. That's not what she said.
Hey, to be clear, none of that's not a.
Just think of each bullet as a little invitation to heaven. Yeah. God.
Wow. Okay, that was dark.
I wouldn't be surprised if somewhere there's a person who's like inscribed bullets with like Jesus loves you or something. Jesus guns are a thing if you Google that.
Yeah.
for
Apparently so.
Afghanistan, Yeah. But before we hop off, our
Yeah.
president tweeted about the death of Billy Graham, the great in all.
He
caps.
thought I was great.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Almost, but I want to read this because it can be interpreted in a way that I think is an accurate description of
Nobody
Billy
loves
Graham.
Billy Graham more than I do.
Well, no, but his tweet is, "The great Billy Graham is dead. There was nobody like him. He will be missed by Christians and all religions. A very special man." Which, in my head, because I try and make the things I read make sense, is everyone's going to miss making fun of him and watching him be a buffoon. The other denominations of Christians and other religions, he's a very, air quotes, special person, which is, to say there will never be a clown quite as amusing or horrifying.
Yeah.
Like, a comical it.
Yeah. We all float.
Yeah.
We're rid of him.
I forgot to have a punchline for this little bit. So.
Yeah, that's all right.
That's fine. Let's move on with some listener mail, shall we?
Yeah.
And let's start. Last episode, we hypocrisy came up, and we had a little discussion.
Yeah.
And I just was suddenly struck with a kind of an unusual response to the thing. Going, people accused of hypocrisy are typically being accused of not being Christian enough, and I don't think that's our job.
Agreed.
And don't we, in fact, want them to be less Christian?
Yes. But we do that by trying to shame. Well, no, we do that. No, by shaming them, we're trying to make them more Christian.
Yeah.
And that's probably counterproductive.
Yeah. That was kind of the point.
Good point.
So we got a bunch of responses to that. So
Yeah.
let's just go through some of those. David says, I'm replying to your discussion about religious hypocrisy as a reason people gave for being an atheist. I don't think that's...
Wait, what?
Well, no, it was the response
I guess
to
we
the
did.
statistic that Russell brought up.
Yeah. I think, Jeff, you were about to say that hypocrisy doesn't refute theism because it's impossible to be perfectly ethical, and that's exactly what I would have said when I was a Christian. However, Christians also say you can tell whether someone is a Christian by what they produce in their life. By their fruits ye shall know them. So, by this, I think most of us judge theism a failure to produce primarily good results, even if we grant some religious teachings should be followed. If religion did not claim moral superiority over humanism, maybe religious hypocrisy wouldn't matter. Wow, no, I kind of disagree with a bunch of different things in there. Let me tease this apart.
That's never happened before.
So I think I also was technically a Christian for some years, and it's not just because they have the "by your fruits ye shall know them" thing does not mean that they're claiming people are perfect. So people can still be not following all the teachings all the time,
Usually they
and
claim
still
the
be
opposite.
considered reasonably okay people. Then you go on, David, and say that by this I think most of us judge theism a failure. Yeah, but that's not our job. We were talking about I think maybe I'm getting this confused with the other angle on the hypocrisy thing. It's not our job to judge whether Christians are being Christian enough. I just want to hit that again.
It is when they give us the authority, which they do every time they tell us how to identify a Christian.
Even then, because then what they're doing by giving us that authority is they're inviting us to provide further impetus for more Christianity, which we should decline.
Yes.
Well, that and to talk about being more Christian.
I often
their
say,
thing, as opposed to being not.
You can tell me how to identify a Christian and give me authority to determine who's a Christian and who's not, but I don't think you'll like the results. That's what I tell them.
Yeah. Well, and that's fine. That's your strategy on it. Mine is to say, I don't freaking care who's a Christian. Do not care. Do not care. I bet that to me, the rules of Christianity are not a standard by which I judge a person good or bad at all. Don't even ask me. I don't care. I'm not in the club. It's not my job to judge your members for you and give you my feedback on whether they're towing the line enough.
Although the weird,
as far as I'm concerned, I want them to tow your line as little as possible.
Yeah. Although the weird, intricate rules in the Vatican, I've always found unbelievably fascinating, like the gluten-free, non-gluten-free, whatever.
Yeah,
although it's like reading.
Fascinating, but I'm
Tolkien.
not going to weigh in on whether it should be gluten-free or not gluten-free. I'm going to point and laugh.
Yeah.
And then David goes on. Even if we grant some religious teaching should be followed, can we? I just don't like the structure of the sentence. I think I know what he's getting at, and I think what he's getting at is
even
fine,
if we grant that religions co-opt good stuff.
Yeah, not everything that religious people say is wrong.
Right.
But
but often the reason
it's not right because of the religion.
Often the reason they give for this being a good thing is wrong.
Yes.
Handed down by God. Well,
they think,
no, it's good because it's good. It's like,
if religion did not claim moral superiority over humanism, maybe religious hypocrisy wouldn't matter. If it didn't claim moral superiority over humanism, it wouldn't matter?
It claims to be more moral than humanism, sure.
But the hypocrisy is not even an issue in that claim. Yeah. In that claim, if you line up the rules of religion, Christianity in this case, I think that's what we're talking about. Yeah. Line up the rules of Christianity and the rules of humanism and compare. And hypocrisy doesn't even enter into it.
Right.
In that evaluation. It's not, your rules are less good because your people don't follow them. That's a non sequitur.
Right. Yeah, I'm trying to tease it apart and can't.
You could take it to the point of your rules are impossible to follow.
Right.
And you could criticize it on that grounds. But then I don't think we'd be talking about hypocrisy so much as like impossibility.
Well, if you were saying that the rules are possible and trying to promote them and like ignoring the fact that they're impossible and that you can't follow them.
But then the problem with them would be that they are impossible, not the problem is not the evidence that they're impossible is people not following them.
Right.
And I don't even think that's true in most cases, right? For most Christian rules.
But hypocrisy isn't a problem with systems, it's a problem with individuals and their virtue. So
see, that was the discussion we had last episode, was that hypocrisy is just a description of a structure of here's a person, and here's the things they say, and here's the things they do, and do those match, right? But it's the whole discussion we had was, are there not things people could say that are so horrific that when they do not act in accordance with what they've said,
it's better.
We're actually happier.
Oh yeah.
So the issue is that I floated, and this bears more analysis, and that's why we got. I'm happy to read a bunch of listener mail about it, right, is maybe we should back away from just fixating on the hypocrisy as the indication of a problem and instead look at what's actually going on, because we might not necessarily have that much trouble with some people not following some things that they say.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay.
I mean, Pointing out the hypocrisy of a person is about saying that person isn't a reliable person, but whether they're a hypocritical bowler or a hypocritical Christian doesn't make them more or less hypocritical. We have a problem with the Christianity, whether you want to say, and also this person isn't morally virtuous.
Well, except I don't think hypocrisy is even necessarily about moral virtue. Suppose we're talking not about a typical Christian who in real life does not act according to the rules that they're fed every Sunday. What if this is a closet atheist in some town which is heavily Christian, and they have to pretend, and they're totally given lip service
that they do not do.
Yeah. They're given lip service to beliefs they do not share, which they may in fact find morally repugnant, but it is necessary for them to hide and disguise their non-belief. Right?
Ted Haggard.
This still happens in our world. Now, would you say that the person who is not, in fact, acting in accordance to their professed Christian beliefs because they're hiding for self-defense, for the sake of their family, for the sake of their careers, right? Their livelihoods. Would you call that person
That's a really interesting point.
Would you call that person less trustworthy?
No.
Just because they're being hypocritical?
Right, no.
Or am I applying the word wrong? Does hypocrisy automatically exclude people like that? And I shouldn't even be bringing it up. That's possible too.
Wow.
And that's the conversation we're having.
Well, you could say that a person in that situation is saying things under duress.
Yeah. I mean, it's a deeper
And
context
thus
for the situation.
he would be able to get out of the accusation of hypocrisy. Because he's saying under duress.
Generally, people are okay with people, committing acts of violence or murder in self-defense. So committing an act of hypocrisy in self-defense,
is fine.
Seems,
technical hypocrisy.
Right. At least somewhat unobjectionable.
Then that's the analog, right? Hypocrisy is this it's a description of a structure of here's a person and here's what they say and here's what they do, and the say and do don't match, right? And here's another structure. Here's a person with, like, say, a handgun, and there's a bullet, and that goes and ends a person's life.
Yeah.
Now, it is not true that in all cases killing a guy with a handgun is wrong.
Right.
It is just not true in all cases. And if we treat it like it is, we're excluding edge cases, right?
Sure.
That not mostly, right? But I think it's important always to look at what's actually going on and not react on the basis of the surface details of the thing.
So what you're saying is
kind of the point I'm making.
Like, you're saying, like, life and trying to figure out what's good and bad is complicated?
Yes.
It's not easy.
Yes, I'm totally saying that.
Complicated.
Which is, of course, exactly what religion misses.
Everything's black and white.
We ought to be
Jesus
the people.
says no.
We ought to be the people who are equipped to look at things in more detail, right?
Yeah.
Having
but it's much
cleared
easier
the
to have
religious nonsense away.
a well-establised buzzword to just be finished with an argument.
Frankly, I like my knee jerking around.
Yeah,
like...
and that's where me bringing this stuff can ultimately be counterproductive if I go on about it for too long, right? Because sure, in common parlance, 9 times out of 10, when we're talking about hypocrisy, we're talking about some guy who's been caught doing some horrible thing that he said he wouldn't.
Right.
Or that he said was bad, and sure. 9 times out of 10, that's fine.
And 9 times out of 10, we're not
but we should
surprised.
Still be. But even given that in common parlance we can get away with that, we should still be the people prepared to step in and go, okay, let's look at what was actually going on, and is this really a thing?
Right. Like, it's a pejorative that applies in lots of situations, but that you only use in the ones you don't like, right? Like, saying someone is a criminal is usually an insult, but Martin Luther King Jr. was arrested like 40 times.
Right.
But no one says MLK was a criminal. Well, I'm sure now.
I'm sure there's a lot of people who say that now.
And now
God
I'm ready to
damn it.
move on.
Yeah. No, and that is exactly the reason why, right?
Nonsense.
I would just like us not to be the side that takes advantage of those simplistic observations
Right.
to advance our case, right? When we take advantage of a simplistic observation, we should be only doing that when what was actually going on matches the implications of the simple view of it, right?
Yeah.
And we should be the ones prepared when that's going too far, and that's the wrong way to apply that. We should be the ones backing out and saying, okay, wait a minute. Okay, so that's thank you, David, for your letter. Let's move on to another news item.
Ooh.
To another news.
Yeah, you got another one there?
No, I used both of them in the same go.
Really?
Yeah.
That's it? That's it for news?
I've got, okay.
Because I can do more listener mail. I totally can.
I'm a fan of listener mail.
Okay.
But
it's more about hypocrisy for a while. Maybe we'll go through it.
What's wrong with hypocrisy?
It would be really funny if right here I said something that was hypocritical. Just insert that at that moment.
Well, you could.
It would get a big laugh, but I can't think of anything. Liam writes, you were talking about whether hypocrisy can be a good thing. I think your examples had too many confounding variables to really get at the heart of the issue.
So they
See, now, Liam, I think that's exactly wrong. I think the whole fact that there are so many possible variables is why we shouldn't be automatically assuming that all instances of hypocrisy are bad, right? That some could be laudable. But let him go on. Maybe he makes his
real
case.
life has confounding variables.
If the choice is between obeying your own terrible rules or being a hypocrite, then it's better to be a hypocrite, but that doesn't mean the hypocrisy isn't bad. It could just be a milder kind of bad. No, I don't agree, Liam, because if your terrible rules are that terrible, right? Choosing not to follow them is not any kind of bad.
Yeah.
Choosing to not follow them is good. It's not. Well, there are angles you can take on this that I think maybe get to the point he's trying to make, but I don't think that's it.
Well, there's still the fact that the person is uttering the horrible rules, and others may take it up.
Yes.
So the utterance is still a bad thing by in and of itself.
Yes, correct.
The fact that he's not doing it,
but
is
it's not
sort of a saving grace.
But not following rules
doesn't absolve him.
Not following rules you say are good is not itself necessarily a bad thing.
That's true, but
that's what I'm saying.
If a person,
right,
by their own
or did I just completely
would be bad, is an interesting statement.
Not following rules you say are good.
Not following the rules is not necessarily bad.
Right. If the rules are horrible, then
right?
Yeah.
Okay, but your point you brought up, I think, is well taken.
Yeah.
I think we will get more into that in a moment. It's like if you prevented murder but had to jaywalk to do it. The fact that doing so was the better choice doesn't mean that jaywalking isn't bad by itself. No, see, that I think is exactly not right. Because not following a rule that would be analogous to jaywalking, right?
Yeah.
Right.
That if the assumption is jaywalking is an important... The law against jaywalking is an important and good thing, and you should follow it, right? But that is not true of all rules. There are rules that are not important and good, and that should be not followed. So I don't think you can make a simplistic comparison between all acts of hypocrisy, right?
Right.
And jaywalking, because that's shoehorning on board the idea that hypocrisy is always bad, even if it's just a little bit. No, I think some hypocrisy is actually good.
All right. Well, not to sound like a random faceless person typing on the internet, but...
No, today you have a name.
That's true.
On our show.
This is
Jamie. Jamie is about to say a thing on our show. Go ahead, Jamie.
Okay. That was a really smooth transition you did there, and I think it was great. Now, if you lived in Germany in the 1930s, there's a whole lot of hypocritical things that you could have done that I would be in favor of. So if you were there and stuck there and couldn't escape and you're not
as
marching,
usual,
save
the
the
extreme
Jews.
edge case is our friend.
Yes.
Right.
Are you saying, as usual, Nazis are our friend? What?
No. You can always Nazis are an extreme edge case, so you can always justify almost anything by comparing it to Nazis who are the worst. Right. Mm-hmm. Therefore, it's you're avoiding that. That's good.
We should play the sound bites game and see how badly you can get sound bitten with that last paragraph, which is like, anything can be justified and Nazis in a single... No, never mind.
Okay, so here he continues. Instead, we should use an example of hypocrisy where all the rules and rule breaking are ethically neutral. For example, if a server at a restaurant decides the staff should all wear uniforms, but then that server doesn't wear the uniform, is that bad?
Interesting.
But that's what you think, Liam, that's where you think we should be going to analyze this? Because I think we should be going to the opposite extreme. You're taking us to the middle, right? And actually, I think it is morally neutral to not follow a neutral rule, right? It might get you fired from the restaurant that has the rule about uniforms, but as to morality, I would say it's a wash. Now, if it's a restaurant that wants you to wear some embarrassing, racist, sexist thing, right?
So
it's bad. Yeah, it's the Nazi restaurant.
Yeah, but now we're back to the edge cases and stuff like that.
But that's
all about the edge cases.
But that gives us a much clearer example of
keeping it neutral removes all the moral question about it. So it's like, actually, it can hardly even be called hypocrisy.
I'm not sure whether he was asking whether it was moral for the server not to wear it or whether he's saying the person that made the rule isn't enforcing
No, actually, his next sentence will explain.
Okay. What's the next sentence?
It is in response to his setup of restaurant staff uniforms. It doesn't really matter whether the staff wear uniforms or not, but does the server's hypocrisy matter?
Well,
so he went to neutral so that we could look at just the hypocrisy. Mm-hmm. He's saying we should all wear uniforms, and then doesn't.
Right.
And that's a good case. Liam?
It is.
Well done. I agree. This one has got me thinking for a second.
It's a very good case. And now, on to our next segment.
No. We're going to analyze it because we can be wrong on this show and discover that we are wrong. I think the thing is, though, is that you're trying to make a situation neutral so the hypocrisy itself can be judged. But in this case, the hypocrisy is a thing where you have got other people doing a thing, right?
Yeah.
A morally neutral thing.
Yeah.
You
know what? So neutral, there are no consequences.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, is the rule enforced in any way? Like that, if that's the person that enforces the rule,
he doesn't say anything about consequences.
Right.
So it's merely, that's like, it's sort of like a practical joke example, right? It's like, tomorrow it's going to be everybody wears blue jeans to the office day, you tell your coworker as he's about leaving the door. And the next day he comes in wearing blue jeans and he's the only one and you laugh at him.
Right.
That's hardly rises to the level of subverting an evil rule, though, which is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you almost made your point, Liam, but I'm not entirely buying it that's getting at a inherent badness of hypocrisy. I'm not quite convinced.
Yeah.
Well, I think he's coming at it from I
don't see the badness in his neutral.
Yeah.
You see the neutralness in his neutral example. Okay.
I have no strong opinions one way or the other.
He has
the neutral planet.
All right. He has a finishing paragraph. Let's see if
Tell my wife I said hello.
All right, guys. I love that bit too. Let me finish my letter.
All right.
Personally, my intuition in this example is that the hypocrisy itself does matter. I think it's a form of dishonesty. Totally agree that on balance, it's better for Christians to hypocritically not stone gay people, though. Yeah. All right. So, I think you raised a you got really close to making your point with the servers and the uniforms thing, but I don't think I quite buy it because I think that is so morally neutral as to leave the what that person did is effectively a gag that they pull, and morally nothing.
Well, I think
so. Rude, maybe.
Oh, is it? I didn't want to jump in before you finished your...
No, go ahead.
No, okay. I think he's trying to talk about like virtue ethics and stuff, which is different than, as best I can tell, the way that people naturally think about it, which is, does this harm things? Or, instead, it's like, what's the correct way to exist?
But we hold up the example of the guy in the restaurant saying we should all wear uniforms and then not wearing one, right?
Yeah.
Versus the atheist living in a heavily right-wing Christian community where they're pretending and giving lip service for self-defense, right? You're going to say that guy giving lip service and self-defense is doing something bad because of the amount of badness in the example of the restaurant with the uniforms. I just don't think it. Yeah. I don't think that makes it.
There's like if you put them on a scale, certainly there's one that's...
Yeah.
All right.
What's the level of moral obligation of this individual to do one thing or the other? We'll work it out in 2 minutes.
The only consequence of that neutral example is that the other workers know not to trust that guy.
Which, since it's a neutral example, might be
the
good
consequence.
instead of him portraying them in a bad way. Or in a harmful way.
I suppose, but I mean,
if he keeps doing it, it's like, it's...
If he keeps doing it.
Right. I know.
On its own, in a vacuum, that one thing, I just fail to see how that rises to the level of anything more than a gag. That's just me. Liam, by all means, you can write us back and explain how we've misinterpreted you.
I have a headline for you if you're switching.
You do? So you do have more news?
Yes.
You've tracked down more news.
Message. It's one of the
because that's traditionally how it goes. Is it's a back and forth news story, listener mail, news story, listener mail.
But traditionally, I'm not here.
That's true.
Be gone with traditions.
But now that you're here, you must live by our traditions.
No, I'm going to say that they're good traditions and not follow them.
No, say that. There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
All right.
The problem is
for the win.
The problem with your example is that they are good traditions, and so
I don't know. The fact that I'm breaking this tradition to read you the following headline may be a good thing.
How is that breaking the tradition? The tradition is it's now time for you to read a listener mail, which you're about to do.
He's about to read a news story, which he's about to do.
I'm sorry, a news story. Yeah. I misspoke.
No, I'm right because Jesus. All right, now.
No, that totally doesn't fly in the show.
All right, so the headline is, and it's not from The Onion, I promise, Mike Huckabee, Billy Graham's death.
Mike Huckabee's colon. I don't know.
No, like that. Because it's a headline.
Go for it. Go for it.
So it's like, according to Mike Huckabee, right? Mike Huckabee's colon has very strong opinions. Mike Huckabee, the typed character : Billy Graham's death is, quote, fake news because he's, quote, more alive than ever in heaven.
Yeah, no.
Oh, God.
Sorry, dude. No.
Makes me want to rip my brain out.
Should I even read on, or if we
successfully
addressed...
Dig his own grave on this story.
He's alive.
All right, let's see.
Mike Huckabee's credibility is dead.
Yes.
But he's not a hypocrite, so good action?
I don't know. Yeah, we'll see.
All right.
I don't know if you could ever find another case where somebody's dead and Mike Huckabee says they're dead, then yeah, hypocrite. That would have the structure of hypocrisy.
But if Mike Huckabee's not a hypocrite, does that mean we have to say he's a good person now?
No.
Or something? Okay.
Just because you didn't do a bad thing A doesn't mean you're automatically good. There are a lot more things to do that are bad than just the one. Likewise, you catch somebody doing one bad thing, you do not get to leap to the conclusion that they're doing everything wrong.
But what if they're not a Christian? No. Okay.
No, what does that have to do with anything?
Well, I'll ask Mike Huckabee. No. It's... When I heard this morning that Billy Graham had died, I said that's fake news, he said during a Fox News interview, which is a great source for news, in case you're wondering. Billy Graham's not dead. He's more alive right now than he's ever been, and that's what he preached, and there's life beyond, blah, 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 blah. Okay.
If only more preachers would be alive than they've ever been.
Yeah. Then they'd all be like charismatic preachery. Thing. Yeah.
So when Trump tweeted about Billy Graham being dead, right?
Yeah.
This is Huckabee attacking Trump?
I mean, I don't think so.
For spreading fake news?
Yeah,
I mean, decide what you're going to say, Mr. Huckabee. Yeah. Either you are saying it's fake news or you're not. If you're saying it's fake news, you have just attacked anybody who spreads this pernicious piece of gossip about Billy Graham being dead. Right? You have attacked every single one of them. All of them.
So can we
his family
a showdown?
Who say he's dead?
Yeah.
Right? The people, when his family go to collect like their inheritance or something, you're calling them liars?
The medical examiner?
I guess
medical examiner, sure.
Well, no, I mean, he's saying that he's alive.
He'll hire all the crisis actors and then...
He's saying
the news that Billy Graham is dead is false.
Yeah.
That is what he's saying. He can stick a caveat on it, but he has already said the blanket statement.
Fake news.
Fake news.
But he also said, in reference to this, if somehow, because he's alive in heaven forever, magic ponies, etc. If somehow Billy Graham did not inherit eternal life, if he's not alive right now in a life that will never end, and then everything he stood for, everything he said is null and void.
Exactly right.
I agree.
Exactly
I agree,
right.
Mr. Huckabee.
Everything that Billy Graham ever said is null and void.
It's like when Christians say, "Well, it's either a miracle or that's a fraud." It's like, yes, I agree. It's
yeah.
Yep. Exactly right. Exactly right.
All right. Short and fun.
All right. Let's go on with our third of 4 listener mails about the hypocrisy thing.
Yeah.
Doug says, Jeff, I think it could be argued that hypocrisy can be positive. Well, thank you, Doug.
We're gone.
Let's move on. No, he actually makes a case.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. See if I agree with his argument in
support of your position.
I don't. Yeah. If I don't agree with the argument, I'm not going to accept it.
All right.
My initial reaction to the question was that the consequences of someone's hypocrisy may be beneficial, as in the example of claiming someone they want to go. Of someone claiming they want to go out and murder people when they actually just hand out flowers. But the hypocrisy itself is still dishonest, which is bad. It would be better if the person didn't say they wanted to commit murder.
Right. That was pretty much my point.
It would be better if they didn't.
But it's not. But it's not.
That's not the case we're talking about.
But it isn't hypocrisy then.
Yeah.
Right?
What?
There's hypocrisy.
Oh, yeah. If you don't say, I'm going to go out and kill people, then you haven't established a rule that you can break.
I'm going to go out and hand out flowers.
Yeah.
But then you go kill people. Mm-hmm. That's hypocrisy. And that's really, really terrible because your hypocrisy was you're not going to kill people and then you do.
Well, no, you didn't say you weren't going to kill people. You said you were going to go hand out flowers. But you did not say you weren't going to kill people.
All right.
Yeah, you got to get that straight.
Fine. It's been straightened.
Yeah, okay.
Now respond to the actual point that I'm making.
Okay.
The handing out flowers includes the not killing people.
Right. We'll assume that. Okay.
You cannot say that the person that on the question of honesty, right? The person who says, I'm going to kill people and doesn't.
Right.
Ooh, maybe you can. Maybe I'm about to blow the lid off of my own thing.
Maybe you can what?
On the question of honesty, they're both dishonest.
Right. There is lying going.
However, then let's just widen the scope of this then. Are all falsehoods morally wrong? No.
Not morally wrong, no.
Not all falsehoods are morally wrong. Not all of them are ethically wrong.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
If there is such a thing as morally acceptable falsehood and ethically acceptable falsehood, there is morally and ethically acceptable hypocrisy. Because it's the falsehood part that we're criticizing.
I have to agree.
I got a lot of like.
I have to agree with myself too.
Got a lot of listeners reading like Kant or something. Never lie, no matter what.
If you lie once, you're a liar forever.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're watching Ray Comfort videos.
Yeah, that's.
Actually,
so that
tell
he
which is
goes.
more
He says
likely.
it would be better if the person didn't say, in the example of, they say they
Killing
want to
people.
commit murder, but they actually just hand out flowers.
Right.
He says it would be better if the person didn't say they want to commit murder.
Yes,
but
it would.
It would, but that's true whether it's followed by, an action or not.
Right, sure.
You probably shouldn't scare people by going around
by
saying
saying
you're
it
not
in the
going to
first
murder.
place.
Yeah.
It's not worse because you then that bit, the saying the bad thing, isn't worse because you then do it or don't do it.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
it's like that response is, oh, hey, is it better that a person be a hypocrite or do a bad thing? And his response is, well, it's better if they do a good thing and aren't a hypocrite. And it's sort of, yep, that's why it's a dilemma.
Right.
Well, but I'm.
No, that's his
By-
response of
yes.
it would be better
Yeah.
if they didn't.
That is what he's saying.
By
and
uttering
I
the
think
bad
it's-
thing, you've set up a baseline badness,
Yeah.
and then
Is it worse
you
to
can
follow
add to that
through
or not.
Or not? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can
And not
replace
acting on
that.
it is good.
Yes, and not acting on it is good.
Yeah. It's a sunk moral cost because you already said it. No.
Not acting on it is.
Now, what do you mean by that?
Wait a minute. Not acting on
I
it
want to hear more about
is
that.
not
No?
Yeah.
is not acting on it neutral.
No. I don't think so. I think having
Because
made
if you
it,
don't act on it, then nothing happened.
Well, but you're
it's not
fulfilling.
like you get to be a good person by going around saying horrible that you're going to do.
I know.
That doesn't ratchet you up the goodness
yes,
ladder.
you're still guilty of the baseline evil of uttering the bad thing.
Sure, but uttering the bad thing is not itself hypocrisy.
Right.
Right? So, and again, back to the question of if we accept that there is morally and ethically acceptable lying,
Yeah.
then that's what the questionable part of hypocrisy is, the lie. So if there are morally and ethically acceptable types of lying, there are morally and ethically acceptable instances of hypocrisy.
We'll ask that little girl up in the attic in the Nazi regime. That's right.
Nazis.
Yes. Do you reveal her location?
But Doug
I
began by
lied.
saying that he agreed with me, so let's see where he's going with this. However, it is possible that some open hypocrisy could be considered a good thing. Take, for example, what I've just decided to call Beastie Boys hypocrisy.
What?
I'll be curious to find out why he named it that.
Yeah.
Just because it needed a name, or does that
great.
mean something? If a smoker admonishes people not to smoke, are they being mildly hypocritical? I would say it's still a positive thing, though, since don't smoke is good advice, even if it's coming from someone who smokes 2 packs a day. It would be better if they also didn't smoke, but that's precisely why they're telling others not to do it. Well, that's really interesting and a completely different formulation of how it can be good. Because that's entirely separate from the question of he's saying
you're uttering a good rule
the stance
and not following it.
But the fact that you've uttered the good thing has a value. Unfortunately, I think
creates a base level goodness there.
But I think based on what we've said about applying morally and ethically acceptable lying to this question, having said a good thing is either good or bad unto itself, separate from the question of hypocrisy. So I think what he's doing is he's saying you can say a thing that's so good that the fact that you didn't follow it isn't enough of a drag on the total to make the net amount of good zero.
Right.
And we're saying, or I'm saying, because I don't want to put words in your mouth, I'm saying I think the reason why it could be morally or why it could be okay is not that the hypocrisy is always bad, but you can say such a good thing that you're not following that the net result is positive. I'm saying there are morally and ethically acceptable lies, and if you make one of those, it's not a drag on the overall goodness at all. In fact, that morally acceptable lie or ethically acceptable lie can itself be the good.
That's true.
Right.
Well,
that results in a net
possible.
good. So,
well, I think up until now we've been, after all of this has happened, which parts of it were good and bad? So if we want to look at a moral decision to make, there's a person who, promotes non-smoking or tries to prevent people from becoming addicted to crack or addicted to Jesus or whatever. And along the way, in between their seminars, they become addicted to crack or smoking. Sure. Bringing up crack made this a whole lot more serious, and it's brought the mood down. My bad. Whatever. Then they start smoking. Should they then stop doing this good that they would have done because they smoke, or should they do it?
Good point.
And then be a hypocrite despite giving good advice?
Again, see. If you want to play the "it would be better if" game, right? We can go there.
Moral philosophy.
But the question I think that's on the table is not what would be better if. The question is, do you get a net? Is it a net good or a net evil on its face? So, but for a moment, let's entertain the "it would be better if" example. It would be better if that person, the next time they came out and made their statement, said, "And I know whereof I speak, I am having trouble with this myself right now." That would be better, because then they're not hiding anything.
Right.
And in fact,
transparency.
In fact, Doug's next paragraph goes into the what if you're hiding the fact that you're being hypocritical. But again, Doug, you're doing no. That's exactly your example, right? That's the guy who's making public statements about it's bad to use crack, but then falls into it themselves.
That's true,
right?
And
hides it.
Okay.
That is exactly where the kind of thing Doug is going into next. And yes, you can play the "it would be what would be better if" game. But that's not the point I'm making, and it's getting away from the point that I'm making. The point I'm making is, and now I'm going to start like a broken record. No, actually, well, yes, but directly, not with any of this, not with shading. Is this a little bit better? Is this a little bit worse? I'm saying literally there are morally acceptable examples of lying and ethically acceptable examples of lying. Unless you're going to bring up Kant, and therefore, that directly translates into morally acceptable instances of hypocrisy, because the troublesome part of hypocrisy is the lie. And so you don't have to play the would it be better if game to generate some net positive effect in order to justify what I'm saying. I'm saying at the base level. I think the guy who is having trouble with drugs and makes public statements against drugs based on the assumption drugs are bad.
Yeah.
We won't argue about for purposes of this. That person is committing a positive good, regardless of the fact that they're lying.
Right.
Because they're making the statement that is that is itself a positive good. Right? It is a good thing. And the fact that they aren't living up to it is I think irrelevant to the question of the good that they're doing beyond themselves.
Right.
Yeah. Well, here, what you said is next paragraph.
Okay, here it is. Beastie Boys hypocrisy gets more murky when the hypocrite hides the fact that they're being hypocritical. When someone spends their time publicly warning folks against using heroin, but is then found to secretly spend their off hours laying tracks in their arms, our opinion of that tends to be negative. Well, yeah, but this whole discussion is about what our opinion of such things should be. Right? Yeah. Obviously, we don't like it for that person that they are harming themselves. But and the revelation of their inability to live by their own advice can undermine the message.
Yeah.
But won't for everyone. They will still have reached some people, and some people will look at the fact that, oh, this person that told me not to do the drugs, that's terrible that they fell into it themselves, but I'm glad that I learned that message from them.
And as in all things, it's a little more complicated. You know, we the good message he's giving, that can be... We're assuming for the sake of the argument, it's all good, when in fact... Oh, he says you shouldn't use drugs. And so people get the idea, yes, we should then judge people who do use drugs as bad and stuff like that. So it's like, it can be used.
What if what if the person, let's say it's a musician, right? Let's say it's a musician
complexity.
Who's making these statements against drug use. And now we have someone who hears them who hates their music. Right?
Right.
You're gonna say that their effort to get people not to use drugs is tainted by the opinion of this individual who just doesn't like them for other reasons? The message is the message, regardless of who says it, and regardless of who says it, and other unrelated details. Is the point I'm trying to make.
Okay.
One day, Hitler brushed his teeth. Is brushing your teeth evil now because Hitler did it one time? A message is not tainted by the morality or the actions of the person saying it. Is either valid or not on its own, is my argument.
Right.
Hitler also believed that 1 + 1 = 2, and that doesn't affect Bertrand Russell.
That's right. Oh. So... going there and factoring in, later it's discovered that this guy took drugs while giving the messages, right? That is playing the would it be better if game, which you can totally do, but I think that misses the fundamental point.
Right.
Right? Sure, it will be less, it's more good if you make the statement and also follow it up.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So see, this whole question is encumbered with all these other assumptions that we're teasing apart, right? Like this, the jaywalking thing was another one that there's just an assumption there that following rules is always good. Well, no. it is not actually always good to follow somebody else's established rules.
Right.
Yeah.
It just isn't. It often is, and you want the rules to be things that are for the general good.
Right.
And you want to have a legal system that has the flexibility for if you were in some special situation where following the rule wouldn't have been good that time, and the courts can look at that and let you off because that's a special case. And laws can't be written in such excruciating detail that every single possible circumstance could be covered, right? You want to have all that going on.
Yeah. It's better if you treat it as sort of a guideline.
Are you quoting something?
Yeah. Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh.
I'm disinclined to acquiesce to your request. Means no.
So anyway, finishing up Doug here. Maybe that's because while their advice is good, the fact that they were hiding their hypocrisy weakens the message. Yes, it does weaken the message, doesn't change the fact that the message was good.
Yeah.
Right? This is, of course, in contrast to Ted Haggard's hypocrisy, which is always bad. When you preach against something that is, you brought up Ted Haggard, too. You're just like, did you write this letter? Are you Doug?
Nope.
When you preach against something that isn't actually bad, in Haggard's case, homosexuality, and then engage in that thing in secret, you're always a prick.
There's a joke in there somewhere.
But what's wrong there is okay, I'm going to bring up Hitler again in a second. What's
Hitler
wrong
just
there
keeps coming
is not Ted Haggard's homosexuality.
No, right.
No.
Ted Haggard's homosexuality was fine all the way through this, right? The problem was Ted Haggard saying horrible things about gay people that weren't true, right? The problem, here I go. Let's get myself all kinds of trouble. The problem with Hitler exterminating Jews is not that if there was a race of subhuman creatures bent on our destruction, that it would always be bad, and the only way to save ourselves from them was to exterminate them, right? That it would still be bad to exterminate them in self-defense. That is not the problem. The problem is that the Jews were not a subhuman race bent on our destruction. Hitler was fucking lying.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about here.
Yeah. I think he believed it, though. I
don't care.
No, sure. Don't care, though.
Well,
good.
Do
we want to have
a definition of lying?
Yeah, which is always tedious.
We've got another couple hours,
It's
right?
technically, no, but you're technically right to bring
mostly
that up.
I just wanted to ask.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't sure whether you were saying that, there is a person that said all the Nazis were gay. That's a thing. But I spent, I spend too much time on
those
the internet.
tight little uniforms,
Yeah, if they were, that wasn't the problem with the Nazis.
No.
Again, no.
All right, so I think it might be time for a special segment of some kind. What do you
Really? What kind of segment would that be?
The only one we've got.
Shit Internet apologists say.
Very nice.
Sweet.
Yeah.
With the first ever use of the in-studio shit button.
That's true.
We no longer have to tease the upcoming Shit Internet Apologists Say segment to the control room so that they'll be ready, and then hope that we've done that well enough.
Now we are the control room.
Well, on that,
we control the horizontal. We control the vertical.
All right. So what do you got?
All right. So there's an opinion piece in the Bangalore Mirror that I got. Actually, I was talking to Russell, and he sent me this. So not taking credit for his research, by which I mean his getting this research from another person that did the work, whose name I forgot. And it's this. Here, I'll just dive in. No false gods in Hinduism. And it's, a Hindu will celebrate atheism, but will the atheist celebrate monotheism or polytheism? Which, I mean, I'm going to just provide commentary throughout this.
Didn't Russell do Hinduism, a different Hinduism story last time? This is really interesting.
I don't know.
Okay, go on.
Maybe he's on a Hinduism kick.
It was some Hindu guy complaining that, I forget what side of the issue he was on, but he was pointing out that with polytheism, that will accommodate Christianity, but Christianity won't accommodate polytheism.
Oh, this is another story along those lines.
Yeah,
but
go on.
It has this this added detail.
Yeah.
Hopefully Russell didn't send me a repeat because I didn't.
No, it's different.
Okay, good. Here, it's long and in small type, so I'm going to paraphrase.
Read a segment and we'll jump in when we have something to say.
Okay. Let's see. I'm going to mispronounce the names of a whole bunch of gods, and I'm just, I'm saying that in advance, and then I'm going to do it, so I'm not a hypocrite, so it's all good. All right. The Hindutva Brigade despises Christian monasteries, though Hindus have always valued missionary schools. Secular media would like to reduce Hindutva, which is a group of type of Hindus based on the context. I'm just going to continue mispronouncing it the way. Would like to reduce Hindutva attacks on missionaries into a simple villain-victim narrative. As just side note, isn't that what attacks are generally? But
yeah, read the thing, and Dennis and I will jump in and comment.
Okay, all right. All right.
It isn't. Is it the same one? Are you sure? Because Russell gave this to Jamie to read.
I've been betrayed, Russell.
Switch to the other one.
No.
Now, I don't think you're allowed to invoke the shit echo. Now, just anytime you feel like it.
That's probably true.
That's too much power.
Doing that is blasphemy. Okay. All right. Let's see. The other one is sexism. So
just do sexism.
All right,
because that's always.
Let's do some sexism.
Woo!
We're commentary.
Yeah, and in this segment, Dennis and I will chime in.
Okay,
you read the thing.
All right. The headline, and not a statement by me, is: "It is not a woman's consent that matters; it is God's."
I'm already sick.
So if God says, if God says,
can we get
this marriage is okay by me, the woman doesn't have to even agree to be married. You can force her.
Yeah.
I mean, traditionally, her father has to sell her or whatever.
This is the most horrific thing that I've ever heard. Okay.
The Bible's teachings on when sexual relations may occur between a man and a woman are in direct conflict with the American sexual consent ideology that sadly even many Christians believe in. Some Christians are simply...
Sadly, some Christians think that you should not have sex with a woman who doesn't want it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Boy, there's a rule that needs to be broken. Yeah.
Bring in the hypocrisy.
Can we ask who this horrible craphead is?
Let's see. I don't see a signature.
Where's the website?
It is biblicalgenderroles.com.
Oh, boy.
Yep.
Yeah. Well.
So it's going to be just fantastic.
Oh, boy. Okay,
I'm surprised it's not just one page that says women are property and then that's just it. Static. Okay, whatever. Which sadly even many Christians believe in. Some Christians are simply ignorant about what the Bible says regarding when sexual relations may occur.
Actually, I agree with that sentence. It is unfortunate
accurate
that so many Christians are ignorant about what the Bible actually says.
Yeah, they might be less Christian. Other Christians actually know what the Bible says about when sexual relations may occur.
And are totally going to take advantage of it so they can have sex with as many unwilling females as they want.
You're thinking of Mormons, but no.
He did not say marriage in that last bit. He said sexual relations.
That's true, actually, yeah. I was just assuming that. Look at me go. All right. Actually know what the Bible says about when sexual relations may occur, and they choose to ignore such passages or explain them away as being irrelevant for our society. Bring in the hypocrisy, I say that. If you are a Christian who
again, this is a place where I say good on you hypocrites who have a holy book that says it's okay to rape women, and you don't do it. You explain it away, or you say it's not relevant. Good for you.
Yeah. I know I just got here, but I think the official position of the nonprofits is rape is bad, right?
Yeah, we took a vote, and it's bad. It's bad. It's objectively bad.
Yeah. If you are a Christian who knows what the Bible says about when sexual relations may occur between a man and a woman and choose to ignore it or explain it away, this article may do little to change your mind. Good. I pray that you will repent, but it is in God's hands and not mine.
Wow. Repent.
For being a decent human being.
That's what's really interesting to me is that it's not just saying it's unfortunate that so many Christians aren't taking advantage of the rape clause, right? But he's saying it is wrong of them not to take advantage. They have to repent if they're not taking advantage of the rape clause. Wow.
Yep.
Ever wonder why I hate religion so much? This is why.
I mean, I don't wonder that, but that's because I've listened and seen it.
Right.
But my primary focus in this article is to talk to Christians, especially young Christians, who have grown up in churches that have abandoned the teachings of the Bible. I hope that when you are exposed to the teachings of God's Word regarding sexual relations between a man and a woman, you will open your heart and mind to what God has to say and let it change your life.
All right. Well,
I could
that's
say
more
that
of the same.
as a way of saying let it change your life as in lose your religion. But it is interesting to watch the civil war in feminism caused by the Me Too movement play itself out in feminist circles. On one side, we have feminists like Christina, I'm going to mispronounce the last name,
You know
That's
what?
definitely not it. Cauterucci?
You know what? I would rather actually, I don't ever do this. I've never done this before, but I would actually ask you not to read that section of this horrible thing into the record because I think we've learned from long experience that when people start attacking feminism, the way they do it is by taking extreme non-representative examples and using them to build their case. And I just don't think we need to hear that. Fuck this guy.
Okay. I mean,
can we skip his attack on specific feminists?
Yeah. Okay.
Who are there's no reason to think that they're going to be representative, or if they are, that what he says that they said will be in context.
That's true. I mean,
that's just
he mentions a writer at the New York Times.
I don't care.
That has okay. All right.
I don't care. That's also going to be out of context.
That's true.
So he doesn't like feminists. Got it. What a surprise. What else?
There's a long quotation, blah, 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 from a thing.
Is that the long quotation is the thing?
No.
Wow.
Okay.
Just jump ahead so he's not talking about feminists
While
anymore.
she raises many good points in the article above, the point I wanted to zoom in is her statement. He's literally taking a thing out of...
Yeah, no. Screw that.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear it.
Well, so he's talking about... and why is expressing sexual interest a messy endeavor today? ? I submit to you the reason for the messiness of expressing sexual interest lies squarely at the feet of the free love movement in America that began in the mid-19th century, as a theory that eventually became an American cultural reality in the 1960s. The majority of this article will be spent showing how the whole... scare quotes, sexual consent philosophy in America finds its roots in rebellion against God.
Ugh, okay. So he doesn't like that it became a question of, do those two people both want to do it?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Man, this is a horrible,
unless one of those people
horrible
is
human
Jesus.
being. That's now it's still two, right. It's two people, but it's the guy and Jesus.
And the father of all the people. So, there's what they say.
Yeah.
I will also show how it directly conflicts with the biblical view of how men and women are to enter into sexual relations with one another. At the end of this, oh my God, his preambles are longer than mine. At the end of this article, I will show why God's appointed way for men and women to express sexual interest in one another is not, quote, messy, like methods of showing sexual interest are today. In fact, God's way in this regard is far less complicated.
Yeah. Take what you want is always less complicated. Yeah.
You know, subheading, the roots of, quote, sexual consent ideology and the free love movement in America.
Oh, boy.
And then there's a picture of the head of a newspaper.
Yeah, what a
titled
surprise!
Lucifer.
What a surprise, dude! You represent a backward, primitive religion that is totalitarian and wants to tell everybody how to do everything. And when you look at the origins of like other ways of doing things, you find, hey, they didn't agree with your stupid, primitive, totalitarian, authoritarian structure for telling people how to do things. What a surprise!
Yeah.
Of course it didn't.
Okay. So he's about to quote this person, but he's, as best I can tell, quoting them entirely because they disagree with him, and it seems like they probably would. So hopefully this is within the bounds of good things.
Go ahead.
One of the founding fathers of feminism.
Oh, no. Okay. Screw this.
All right.
Screw this. So that's the, I mean, you want to find out who the founding fathers,
I know, it's making
fathers of feminism. You want to know who the founders of feminism were? Ask actual feminists. It is nobody else's frickin' business. And no, we're not going to read into the airwaves or out onto the internet once again some dickweed.
Cherry-picked, non-context bullshit.
Right. Screw it. I'm sorry that this is
no.
eating up huge chunks of your article, but really, come on.
No, I mean,
we don't need this crap.
To clarify, this is not my article.
That's the article. No, I know you didn't write it. Yeah, my point is, it's what you have to read. Can we skip ahead till stops making it all about, here, look at me. I'm finding some things that disagree with me that I can get you all to hate.
Yeah. He's complaining because he's cast this person, probably out of context, as not liking Christianity and the role that it puts women in.
He's upset because he's cast them as not liking Christianity? I don't understand.
Well, no, he's the thing that he's complaining about is, here's this person, and look, they said some mean things about Christianity.
Damn right they did.
Yeah.
Totally deserved things about Christianity.
Okay.
Yeah, basically the things you're talking about.
Ugh. Okay. So he, in the subheading, he says the person's name again, but it's that person's name and the invention of marital rape. So,
invention.
Yep.
So it's translating again, which that is ultimately our job.
Postmodern here. Rape is a
when
cultural invention.
When a woman gets married, she abdicates her human rights.
Apparently.
That is what he is saying. Fuck this guy.
Yep. Let's see.
This doesn't need much translation.
No, it doesn't.
Out and out saying it.
It's like, look, this person doesn't think people should be raped. What's up with that? So he references
and they invented that thing.
Yeah.
They invented the idea that there's conditions under which you still shouldn't be raped.
Yeah, so he mentions this article at Fox News.
Of course.
Yeah. Only the best articles.
The title of the article is Spousal Rape Case Sparks Old Debate.
Yeah, no, that debate's done.
Yeah.
You can still be a Neanderthal, but the debate is over, dude. So that's like all this guy has to say is quoting feminists out of context so he can attack them. People he says are founding fathers of feminism, so he can attack them, so he can make his stupid like dick-headed argument that he gets to rape any women that he wants as long as he can say with a straight face that God wants it. Screw this guy.
Yeah. Actually, I think a few of these are in context, but he hates them because he's saying that you shouldn't, because the quotes are saying you shouldn't rape people. So, I mean, but then that's still not still not an argument. Here, people I have told you should hate disagree with me. That is still not an argument. No,
even in context, it doesn't matter. I'm not buying word one of it. Does he have anything else? Does he have any like I don't know, psychological studies which show that, men really should be allowed to rape women whenever God says so?
The Bible, yeah.
Does he have any actual evidence
to
back up his case?
Yeah.
So he's so in the thing that he quoted, marital rape and people being physically injured and dying from it is brought up.
Yeah.
And his response is, the problem with, the thing he quoted with the case was not with its condemnation of the husband's behavior, which is sort of him saying, oh, it's bad to rape people, except that, I think the vast majority of Christians would agree, both then and now, that what he did to his wife was wrong, go
on.
Yeah, right? Just hold that thought. As a Bible-believing Christian and a firm believer in God's institution of marriage and a husband's sexual rights to his wife's body, I can easily show that God condemned the behavior of the husband. Oh, Jesus. The behavior of the husband in the Markland letter based on the biblical principle that husbands are to care for the needs of their wives' bodies as they do their own. And then he quotes Ephesians 5, which is the large passage. Well, here. Do you mind if, I don't know what the ruling is on biblical quotes, if they're accurate.
I mean,
it's very brief.
There's not rules here, man. I'm just not gonna.
That's right.
I am sick to fucking death of hearing these men's rights idiots abusing the rules of argumentation to concoct cases out of nothing, and I'm just sick of it. So I wasn't going to allow that, but sure, we can stand a little bit of Bible verse.
So the passage in Ephesians he quotes is Ephesians 5:28 through 29. So ought men to love their wives as their own bodies. He that loveth his wife loveth himself, for no man ever yet hated his own flesh.
So that's just a slavery reference, right? That's marriage equals the woman is your slave. So fuck that too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. For no man ever hath.
Don't get flustered, man. I'm not upset with you.
Oh, no.
This is
good.
what this segment is about.
Yeah.
We hate this guy.
Yeah, no. I'm good. I just lost my place.
Okay.
For no man ever yet hateth his own flesh, but nourisheth and cherisheth it, even as the Lord the church, which. Yeah.
All right.
Well, it's
because slavery is freaking awesome.
Yeah. Would the advocates of the false proposition of marital rape agree with us as Bible-believing Christians that what the husband in the Markland letter did was physical abuse, even to the point of possibly endangering his wife's life? ? Of course they would.
Yeah, but not because of your book that you believe was written by an invisible man in the sky, which has nothing the hell to do with anything. And their reason for objecting to a woman being physically injured is because she's a human being and has the right not to be physically injured, not because she is the property of the husband and he was out of line because, you shouldn't damage your own property. Those are on completely different pages.
All right. So the next sentence is at least 1 or 2 points larger and entirely in blue because making it bold wasn't enough.
Important.
Yeah. But from a biblical perspective, it is absolutely impossible for a man to rape his wife because a man can only rape a woman he is not married to.
Wow. So this is all coming down to a word game? He's gonna play. There's the translations of the Bible use the word rape for a specific thing. I don't even know if that's accurate or not, but who frickin' cares? Because what matters is when we're talking to each other today now, what matters is what the words mean to us now. That's how we are able to communicate about things. You don't get to say all things called rape are okay according to the Bible because the Bible, as long as they're in marriage, because you claim some moron in the past translated the word rape to only mean that particular thing. What we mean by rape now is what matters now, jackass. All right.
In other words, from a biblical perspective, forced sex within the confines of marriage is not and cannot ever be classified as rape.
Yeah, this guy should be beaten with an inch of his life, in my opinion. All right, well, I'm going to stop you there because we're down to about 4 minutes of show.
Thank you.
And do you have another news story by any chance?
Do I have, let's see, hang on.
Queued up, ready to go? Else I shall go to another listener mail.
Yeah, go to another listener mail.
Any final words on this idiot?
No, I think it speaks for itself.
It's just a brilliant expose of like one of the multitude of things that's just horrifically evil about Christianity.
Yep. With the worst apologetic I've heard.
Yeah. It's not even apologetic.
No, it's not. It's like, you think rape is bad, but the Bible doesn't call that rape.
Right, so it's okay.
Yeah. And then in the next paragraph, he starts using forced sex in place of it. And
Yeah. And that's okay, because force is fine. He thinks. I'm going to move away from hypocrisy. All right, I don't think we're going to be able to get into this because this is not really what our show's about. But Tyler in St. Louis, Missouri writes, my question is about flat earthers. I was speaking to one the other day, and he told me that at a certain distance, an object should be 8 inches below the horizon. I did the calculations myself and determined using basic geometry that said object would be 2 inches below the horizon at that distance. Unfortunately, he did not have the math skills to do this calculation himself, so while I was not able to dispel his belief, I determined that rather than faulty logic alone, exaggerated statistics are driving the flat earth movement. Anybody got any comments on this?
Well, one of the things that flat earthers and literature forget is that gravity bends light. So when you're watching a sunset, for example, well before you see it go past the horizon, it's already past the horizon. But they don't really believe that gravity works the way it works. So
they don't even believe that distances are true.
That's
I
true.
mean,
sure.
You can't
get into the details of their
locations on
the
the earth being the distance they are from each other.
Yeah.
With it being flat.
Because the Trilateral Commission doesn't want.
That's right.
In Tyler's example, he doesn't say what the distance is or what the object is. It is certainly true that because of the curvature of the earth, when you're standing at point A and there's a thing at point B,
it'll be below the horizon.
Curvature of the earth will start to block your view of that thing.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But did he mean like the guy's feet and ankles are below the horizon, or is that what he means by 8 inches below, or does he mean that other person's head?
We don't have
or does
context for this.
Does he mean the skyscraper of a certain height? What the hell is he talking about?
And his point at the end, is that's what is incorrect statistics. What is driving the thing, and I go, no,
No.
that's nothing. The idea of having secret knowledge is the thing driving.
Yeah, I would have to agree that it's not that it's driving; it's that they're being
a tool of
statistics are being exaggerated in order to promote the belief.
Yeah.
Where have we heard that before?
But it's not that people
are presented with bad statistics.
Well, no, if we say that it's used to promote it, then it's used to justify it, right? To obfuscate the actual facts so that they can preserve the belief.
Yeah. Well, he says driving, and I feel like if you have anything like a skeptical mind and research, then when you get bad statistics, you'd presumably look at them. So it's not like there's an abundance of misinformation driving the flat Earth movement. There's an abundance of misinformation, helping people that are not skeptical believe it. But he may be talking about there's this kind of, it gets famous in flat Earth arguments, very, very perfectly straight channel for, I forget how long, somewhere in the UK. And that's where a person did an experiment where they had a post at one end and they had a post at another end and they looked at it and it should have been in the place, but they couldn't, and they could see it even though the curvature, blah, 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 but it's explained by the being above cold water. So...
Oh God!
Right. The information.
Sure. There's a lot of
an excuse
things
for everything.
All I know about the curvature of the Earth and how it blocks your sight of things is that there are web pages where you can go and say if I am observing from X number of feet above sea level, then the horizon is X number of miles away, which is handy in tabletop role-playing games, because when you're making adventure maps, a great size for a movement hexagon is just big enough that you can see what's in the adjacent hexagon, but you can't see what's in the one after that. It's just a handy thing, because then the game master is describing, oh, you're here. So I'll describe, northwest of you there is desert, and north of you there are hills, and right. Because you can see those things.
But hexagons have 6 sides, so all
doesn't
of that
matter.
is
You're
of the devil.
You're average. Well, sure, but so are role-playing games in general, according to.
Oh, that's right. That's the
All
80s.
right. I think we are beyond done.
All right.
Thanks, Jamie, for sitting in with us.
No, my pleasure.
You did great, and
I'm happy to incapacitate Russell. I mean, I'm happy to step in anytime Russell is absent on his own.
Dennis, take us out, please.
All right. That was our show, and we hope you enjoyed it. They'll be back with another episode in 2 weeks on March the 7th. Until then, I'm sure the demons will make sure I introduce all manner of godless programming from my new address in hell.